Is Star Wars Battlefront having a comeback? Now, having looking at the Steam charts or the Steam database charts where they have all the stuff to tell you how many people are actually, or roughly estimated, how many people are actually playing a game on Steam, well, Star Wars Battlefront is actually doing pretty well, and better than it has been for quite some time, to be honest. Now, I know Star Wars Battlefront, at least on the PC, the Battlefront 2 2017 I'm talking about, has had some major problems, specifically more with cheating. I played that a few months ago on PC, and I couldn't play it because the cheating was so bad. Now, I don't know if they actually have put the anti-cheat. I know they were putting anti-cheat in Battlefield 1 and various other Battlefield games, but I'm not too sure if they actually got around to putting that even into Star Wars Battlefront 2 as well, and maybe Battlefront 1 if there's any people actually playing that, the 2015 one. Now, of course, this game had a bunch of controversy when it came out, so it's actually still kind of good to see maybe people are hyped for another one. Of course, there is currently 6,015 players playing. A 24-hour peak is 7,816 players. And in the past month, it was averaging a day. It was averaging about 1,000 to 2,000 players a day. And on the 4th of May, it shot right up to 4,000, 5,000 around there. And it's been quite stagnant on that, and it's been slowly rising over the past few weeks. And now it's currently, it's not released on Steam. It released on Steam a few years ago when EA decided to bring a lot of the Battlefield catalogs straight over, because they used to be Origin exclusive. All of 90% of their catalog used to be exclusive to Origin, so you couldn't actually play it through Steam. So of course that probably cut off quite a fair amount of players, because I'm not going to lie, Origin was a shit launcher. It was just, a lot of people didn't like it. I didn't really like it. It had a lot of problems, and they've now although, let's be honest, you still need the launcher to actually play the game, which is another disadvantage. However, that we're not here to bash the launcher. We're here to talk about Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now, Star Wars Battlefront 2, you probably know the controversy. It had a lot of controversy when it launched. In fact, in a few months, they actually reverted a lot of the stuff they did with it. In fact, it actually made EA listen. For once in EA's lifetime, they actually said, shit, we're actually doing something wrong here. And they listened to the community, and they changed a lot of the shit. In fact, I think EA ended up getting the most amount of downvotes on a Reddit comment ever, and I think that record is still number one. I think they still have the world record for the most downvotes on a comment in Reddit history, and it's still one of the most downvoted things in Reddit history. It currently has 668,000 downvotes, and this was actually about, seriously, I paid $80 to have Vader locked. This is a joke. I'll be contacting EA support for a refund. Can't be playing fucking Darth Vader. Disgusting. This age of microtransactions has gone way too far. Leave it to EA through stretch boundaries. Now, of course, it caused a lot of controversy. It was riddled with microtransactions, this game. And of course, EA was like, okay, yeah, we probably actually should listen to the community now, because this is getting some really bad press. We've got shit tons of downvotes on Reddit, and people are pretty fucking pissed off at the fact that we've ruined this game and we've riddled it with shitty microtransactions. It's nothing new, microtransactions. I know Call of Duty again was still on there. Your run of adding shitty supply drops to games. I think they added it. That was Call of Duty World War II. I think that came out that year. That was full of supply drops. No surprise at all. Many other games did it. It was, as I said, a normal practice back then, just to add shit like that. And of course, people weren't too happy. Now, people have now started this. I wouldn't say rumor, but I think from what I understand, Battlefront 2 was still having more content. I think they stopped that content in 2020. 2019, they actually started to boost up players again, because a lot of people left because of, EA tarnished the game. EA started to fix it, and they fixed a lot of the problems that were wrong with it, and a lot of the problems with the characters and stuff like that. And a lot of people started to realise they actually fixed it, and they kind of enjoyed it again. And EA, I think in 2019, released a bunch of content for the game, and then 2020 they decided to say, well, we're gonna scrap. We're gonna stop updating this game now. We've left it how it is. And I think a few years ago now, like a year ago, something like that, some of the EA employees who actually previously worked on development with the BattleFront 2 said there was a bunch of content they could have released still for the game. And to me, it kind of doesn't make any sense why they did it, until apparently someone said that they cancelled the whole development to focus on Battlefield 2042. And we all know how that ended up. That was a colossal failure as well. So maybe is that a curse because they decided to step back away from Battlefront 3? Now, potentially Battlefront 3. But now, I don't know the future of Battlefront 3. I think a few years ago now, EA lost their sort of privilege license, or their exclusive license with this, so they got to release, they were the major people to release games for Star Wars stuff, and now they've lifted that, and I think any developer can actually get the license now. In fact, Ubisoft actually released a game, Star Wars Outlaws, is it, or Outlands? Can't remember what it's called, but that was a colossal failure as well. So maybe it's a curse, I'm not too sure. But yeah, a lot of people didn't like that either. It was an open world sort of Star Wars, and they did release, there was another Star Wars Battlefront remaster, or collection, I think it was called, last year. They released it, and again, no one liked it at all. It was a failure, servers had problems, stuff like that, and that game died quick as hell. It could have done pretty well, but it died pretty quickly. I think when I first got on it, I tried to find some servers and stuff like that and play it, and then I just gave up and got a refund for it. But yeah, no one else has tried to make a Star Wars Battlefront 3. Now, from what I've understood, and apparently there's just not a lot of money to be made in it. In fact, I think EA probably lost a lot of money. That's maybe why they were doing microtransactions. I don't want to stick up for them for doing that, but I can't imagine the cost that Disney must license off Star Wars for. It must be quite a hefty amount. The fact that no developer has touched a Battlefront 3, and EA hasn't gone back to it, maybe a question to... It's probably a lot of money to develop that shit. I'm not too sure how much it would be, but maybe that's why they played it with the microtransactions. I don't think there was a lot of money to be made in that game at all, so I think that's why they decided to just add microtransactions to it, in hopes that they would probably make some money back from it. And of course, the community did not one bit like that at all, and it, within a few weeks to a month, they decided to, let's just scrap all of the shit we've done and kind of fix the game up, because it's people are going to leave it and start mass refunding, and I'm sure they probably lost quite a fair bit of money just doing that. So I think that's why we're probably never going to get a Battlefront 3 again, as well, is because it must cost a fuck ton of money to actually develop one of them. I can't imagine the licensing costs being decent at all. They must have been horrible to manage. So that's what you get. But I don't know why we haven't got a Battlefront 3. I don't think anyone can answer that. I prefer if EA did it, because the Frostbite engine looked incredible. Now, I know a lot of people don't really like EA in the sense of their practices and stuff like that, and yeah, I do think EA is pretty shitty when it comes to that sort of stuff. That's why they become the meme for if EA made GTA 5, and it would have you can find them on, if EA made this game, and then, you'd pause the game and you'd have to pay to unpause the game. People were making memes on EA because of that. And I think they were rated in 2017 the worst company in the US. So that doesn't make any surprise to me. But a lot of people loved Battlefront 2 after a while. It started to grow on them. And it started to grow on me. In fact, I still play it now and again. I think it's great, especially the console version, because it's not full of cheaters. It's unfortunately full of sweats. There are people who sweat like shit on it. They will hog a hero, and then once they take damage, they just fuck off back to their spawn. Try to get their health back up and stuff, and they'll go out, get a kill, and then go back into their spawn. The same thing they do with Battlefield, with the artillery things. All the flame trooper kits, even they push back into their spawn, wait for their health to regen, and then go back again and just farm kills doing that. It's really fucking annoying, and I wish people wouldn't do it. I think is it May the 1st? I think there's an event. I don't know if they ran it last year. I tried to. But I don't think they were running it last year. I'm not too sure. But they used to run it, I think, every year. And it was essentially where you could have unlimited heroes on a battlefield. Because you have battle points, which essentially you can use to get heroes, and you earn them battle points by getting kills and capturing objectives and stuff like that. And that's how you would earn stuff like that. Now, most people would go to rank up in co-op sessions and stuff, because realistically, you're not ranking up many things in actual multiplayer if you're playing as a hero. Again, if you're playing as a stormtrooper, the chance of you surviving against a hero, they could wipe out 3 of you within a matter of seconds, and you might only do 10% damage on them. But yes, I really hope if they are going to release a Star Wars Battlefront 3, keep it somewhat like Star Wars Battlefront 2, Don't really go crazy on it. Obviously you want to change some stuff, change how things go. Because Battlefront 1 2015, I don't think a lot of people played that. It was, revolutionary. It was fucking beautiful. That's one thing I'll never slam the Frostbite. I think it was the Frostbite engine that was used for Battlefront 2. That's one thing I'll never slam it on. Holy shit. That game was fucking incredible. The fact they made all of that in Frostbite, and it looked magnificent back then. It looked realistic, very realistic. Battlefront 2015, and then when Battlefront 2017 came out, I was like, wow, this is really good fucking quality. Really, really good quality. I could tell the devs were very passionate about the game. And I'm sure they were just as devastated when they realised the game would be actually meeting its end-of-life support. And to be honest, I wouldn't blame them. It was a good game. It took them so long to actually start to realise, or people to realise that, wow, this game is actually good again. And by the time they actually was, pushing more content out and the game was at its peak, they decided to go, no, we don't want to spot it anymore. I don't know whether that was because of money or, like people said, because the Battlefield 2042, and they wanted to focus all their energy on that piece of trash game that nobody actually liked. And it's kind of picking up players now, but that's purely because I think it went on sale, and they've done the exact same thing with that game. They've sort of fixed it again, but it's never going to be the Battlefield that it should have been. Same as Battlefront 2. Well, I do think it's a good game now. I think they shouldn't have messed about from the get-go and wasted all that precious time and all that trust with players. And I'm going to show you the amount of players that probably ended up refunding and then years later realising, oh shit, this game's actually good again, and then rebuying it. You killed someone's trust for that whole time, and then they came back, and then you killed it again by cancelling the game. So will we ever get a Battlefront 3? The chances of that happening are probably slim. I don't know who's going to develop it. Will it be Ubisoft? Will it be a smaller development team? I don't know. I do like I said, I really do wish AA would develop it again. I thought the Frostbite engine just worked perfectly. I've always loved the Battlefronts, even the classic Battlefront 2. That was a great game. I love it because it mixes Battlefield and Star Wars together. Like, big open. Now, maybe a little bit more players. I think it was 64 players in a match, I think. Less than that, I'm not too sure. Depends what... No, I think it was like 40 players. I don't know. It wasn't as many as Battlefield, I don't think. But either way, will we ever get one? The answer to that is, who knows? It's been, quite a significant... It's been since 2017, and we really haven't seen anything of Battlefront. We've had, 2 games, Star Wars games released by EA since then. The last one being, is it Jedi Survivor, which was anticipated and pretty well liked by everyone. But yeah, I don't know about Star Wars Battlefront 3. We haven't heard absolutely anything on that. And we probably won't, to be honest with you. We probably won't hear anything on Star Wars Battlefront 3. And that's the unfortunate part about it. But yeah, it's kind of gaining traction again, and it's doing pretty well. And a lot more people are playing on Steam. It's shooting up again. I don't know if it's that's because it's on a sale or something. Because that's kind of what happens to games when they go on sale. People realise, oh god, this is actually a good deal. So I don't think it is on a sale at the moment, unless people are coming. Unless it's just fresh off a sale. I'm not too sure. It's not on a sale currently, so maybe it was just on one. I'm not too sure, or people have actually realised, oh wow, I completely forgot this game existed. I'm not too sure, but either way, we can only pray that we see Star Wars Battlefront 3 in the near future, and hope to God, if EA is going to develop it again, they focus on actually making players happy and not fucking players around. They built a great game. They just didn't know what they were doing because they thought they were greedy. I think that's the best. They knew what they were doing. They built a great game, but they wanted it to be greed-fed. They want it to be fed through greed. And I don't know why they did that. I'm going to estimate, it can't have been cheap to actually get a license to actually license that game. It must have been pretty hefty as well. So that's not me defending EA, but yeah, sometimes you got to take stuff into crazy actions, I guess. But I don't know. It's one of them things. You just hope to God that if whoever does release it, or whoever does decide to make a Star Wars Battlefront 3, they actually make it pretty good, and they put some effort and time into it, and make it somewhat like the other games. Because I thought the menus from Star Wars Battlefront 2 2017 were pretty well done. They're pretty easy to look at, stuff like that. So the challenges were a bit confusing because you had to go through a few menus to look at them, though. But they got quite understanding after a while, But I really hope they do have a good future within Star Wars Battlefront 3. But only time will tell, I guess.